Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Kayfabe Central podcast and another episode of the pay-per review, where I go over any pay-per-view and break down all the match results and my thoughts on it and what's to come in the future, my predictions for the future. I break all of that stuff down here on the post-show review. If you are new here, welcome to the channel. If you're returning, welcome back. We are talking about Saturday night's main event 42 tonight, John Cena's final match that just wrapped up not too long ago. Shout out to anybody joining in the live chat. If you are in the live chat, make sure you drop your comments and your thoughts down in the live chat, and I will be reading the chat as we go along here. And of course, if you are watching this after the fact, make sure to drop your comments down in the comment section below. And let me know your thoughts on Saturday night's main event. Also, make sure you hit the subscribe button if you're not subscribed already. Hit the notification bell so you're up to date with all the videos, podcasts, and interviews that come to the channel. Check out the Kayfabe Central website. That's where I post all my coverage posts, articles, written predictions, all that good stuff is over there on the Kayfabe Central website. So make sure you guys go ahead and check that stuff out. Make sure you guys go check out the Kayfabe Central Discord server as well if that is something that interests you. If you want to build a little bit of a community within Kayfabe Central, go over and check out the Discord server and build a little bit of community over there if that is something that interests you. And also check out the TikTok page as well. I post a variety of different content over there. So make sure you guys go check out the Kayfabe Central TikTok and Instagram, all that good stuff. Go check it out. Yeah, we can jump straight into Saturday night's main event. This is not going to be like an overly long post-show review because there was only 4 matches on this card. Obviously, very heavy on the John Cena tributes, which I think we all expected. And that's completely fine. You know, somebody who's given 20 plus years to this business and gets the honor to have a whole show dedicated to him, a whole retirement tour dedicated to him. You know, it's perfectly fine. You play all these video packages and pay your respects for John Cena because whether you love John Cena or whether you hate John Cena, you can't deny the fact that the guy has always shown up for the company and he's always been there. You know, I know there's like, you know, people that come out and be like, oh, John Cena had a big ego back in the day. But again, you know, professional wrestling is a sport and a industry where you need to have an ego. So I don't see that necessarily as a problem. You know, if you're not thinking of yourself as the best, then, you know, what are you really doing, right? But we're going to be breaking down everything that happened on Saturday night's main event 42 on John Cena's final match. But of course, there were other matches, I should say, that went down on this show. So we're going to be going through all of that stuff. As always, a useless 2-hour pre-show. They just had a bunch of guests onto the panel that was hosted by Wade Barrett, Joe Test, and Big E. You know, they had Sami Zayn go on there, Triple H at one point. We're going to be talking about Triple H later on in the post-show as well because there were some interesting things that went down when Saturday night's main event wrapped up. So, and I wonder how that post-show is going to go. I wonder how that post-show is going right now. I obviously don't have it on or I'm not watching it or anything because I'm doing my own post-show because you know, maybe I think I do a better job at a post show than they do sometimes, most of the time. But yeah, let's jump straight into the results of Saturday night's main event. We kicked off the night with Cody Rhodes taking on Obafemi. Obviously, this wasn't for any championships. There wasn't any titles on the line. It was just, you know, main roster versus NXT. So this ended in a way where I think Rue or Stu, maybe both of them brought up, and a few other people brought up as well, where Drew McIntyre got involved and caused a disqualification. Technically, Cody Rhodes won because Drew McIntyre attacked him, so Cody Rhodes wins via disqualification. I guess it makes sense in a way because realistically, you can't have either of these guys lose. You know, if you care about NXT as much as you say you do, realistically, you can't have Obafemi lose here, but you also can't have your undisputed WWE champion lose either. So I guess Drew McIntyre interfering was the best bet. I just wasn't personally a fan of this at all. They had a pretty solid match before the interference. A couple cool near falls, couple cool moves. Obafemi looked dominant throughout the match, hit some big uppercuts. Really took the fight to Cody Rhodes. But then obviously Drew McIntyre interferes, and that's going to continue that. We had a little bit of a cool stare down with Obafemi and Drew McIntyre, and Cody Rhodes and Obafemi teamed up to take down Drew McIntyre, with Obafemi hitting Drew McIntyre with a huge choke slam. So I'd totally be down for an Obafemi and Drew McIntyre match down the road. I think that would be something that's really that'd be a really hard hitting match, and two big meaty men slapping meat is what they say, right? So I think that would definitely be interesting. So anyone joining in the live, by the way, let me know if you can hear me clearly, because there shouldn't be a reason you don't, because I know my microphone hasn't been the greatest recently. So especially on these lives in particular. So if anybody joining in the live, or if you're watching this after the fact, let me know if my microphone is good. I should have mentioned that at the start. But yeah, this was whatever. I guess this was the perfect way, in a sense, to protect Obafemi and Cody Rhodes, with having Drew McIntyre interfere. Again, I have no interest in this Drew McIntyre and Cody Rhodes feud continuing. I've kind of gotten bored of it. It's gotten really stale. They're trying to do this thing to make it more interesting, where Drew McIntyre is technically suspended, but he keeps showing up, and keeps attacking Cody Rhodes. It's not interesting. I don't find anything enticing about it. And this is just to drag it out to the Royal Rumble, where Cody and Drew are probably going to have some sort of hardcore stipulation for that undisputed title, where Cody's just going to end up winning, because let's face it, Cody Rhodes is not dropping the title before WrestleMania. And they just seem reluctant to give Drew McIntyre a championship in general. So that's that. The match itself was fine before the interference. That was Cody Rhodes and Obafemi. Obviously, we had so I have YouTube Premium, so I don't have, the YouTube ads itself. But instead, what I got is just a screen that says commercial break, we'll be right back. No music, nothing. So, during these breaks, I'm just sitting in silence with, my family who's watching it with me. And it's just like, okay, this is all we get. And like in between, they threw in like some John Cena video packages, people like Tom Brady and other people, Peyton Manning, Eli Manning, sending their respects to John Cena. They had that in between, which I kind of figured they'd throw in between. I actually thought this event was going to go as long as 3 hours. I'm kind of surprised that it didn't. I'm surprised that they didn't throw more advertisements in this. But they threw in less ads than they normally do, which I can respect and I can like, because, a complaint of mine all year for these pay-per-views for WWE is that it's just ads on top of ads, it's ridiculous. So they had a little bit less of the ads, and more of just John Cena tributes throughout the show, in between matches. So that's fine. But the second match was Sol Ruca versus Bayley. Sol Ruca defeats Bayley via a roll-up, but they got into it in a very smooth way, where it kind of seemed like Sol Ruca just stole it. And this was a good match. This was a lot of fun. Sol Ruca looked fantastic. She had some great spots in this match. She has really good offense, and Sol Ruca is somebody that's going to main event a WrestleMania one day. I just know it. I think the company believes in her. I think they see her in that light as well. So I definitely can see that being the case with Sol Ruca in the future, and her getting called up to the main roster fairly soon. Probably once they pull the trigger on her and Zarya, and that feud is over with, I can see Sol Ruca going up to the main roster. and doing some good things over there. But this was a good match. Bailey looks great as well. Bailey's just kind of in the position now where she just puts people over. She does what she's told, and she doesn't rack up a lot of wins. I know her contract is coming up soon-ish. I don't know specifically when, but I've talked about that before. I don't think that Bailey has anything if she were to go to AEW, and that women's division is stacked. And I think she's just better off staying in WWE and doing her thing here. So I think that's the right route for Bailey. I don't think she should go over to AEW because there's just going to be nothing for her realistically. But this was a fun match. I like Solrook and I like Bailey. Obviously Zarya and Lyra Valkyria didn't get involved. They're baby faces. They were just out there supporting their friends. So I always enjoy a match that doesn't have any interferences, especially when there's people ringside. I always enjoy that. Because you guys know how I am with, the weekly shows and interferences every week on a main event on Monday Night Raw or just in general, because that just seems to be half the matches on the weekly shows. But that was Sol Ruka defeating Bailey. Fun stuff there. And I'm excited to see, where Sol Ruka goes from here. And how quickly she gets called up to the main roster. Beautiful soul snatcher in this match, by the way. Just the way that they got into it was absolutely gorgeous. Soul Ruka looked amazing. We then went on to the World Tag Team Championship match between AJ Styles and Dragon Lee taking on Leon Slater and Javon Evans for the World Tag Team Championships. They did a horrible job at specifying if this was for the World Tag Team titles, because not once on the countdown or in the lead up to this match did they say, the champs could lose their titles to the young up and comers or anything along those lines where it specified that it was for the World Tag Team titles. Unless I missed something, but I didn't catch anything where they specified, because obviously it didn't say it on the graphic. But this was for the titles, and AJ Styles and Dragon Lee retained, which I assumed that they would. I didn't think that Javon Evans and Leon Slater were going to win the World Tag titles. That just didn't make sense, but they did have a great showing here. There was a point in the time where AJ Styles went, or a point in the match, I should say, where AJ Styles went for the phenomenal forearm and slipped on the ropes. I'm glad. I haven't really looked at Twitter a whole lot. I've just been posting, throughout the event, but I'm glad that I haven't seen many people, be like, oh, AJ Styles, messed up or whatever, botched. It happens. It's wrestling. And when you're someone as tenured as AJ Styles, then, you can't expect, everything to be all sunshine and rainbows. Maybe it is catching up to him a little bit, and that's not to say in like a bad sense, but the guy is retiring next year, and he knows his body better than anybody, and maybe there's reasons like that he is retiring. So there's nothing wrong with messing up. It's live. You don't get a second take, and it happens all the time. So they did a great job at recovering from this as well. Leon Slater just went for the pin, kind of an opportunistic moment where Styles slips and Leon's like, okay, I can go for the pin now. And then Styles kicks out and they go to their next spot. Perfectly, covered up or whatever. And they cleaned that up real nice. So overall, this was a great match. Javon and Leon look great. Styles and Lee look great, as always. So there was a lot of cool spots here. This is exactly what this match was meant to do. It was meant to show how flippy Leon and Javon can be, and just how versatile AJ Styles and Dragon Lee are. And it was an all-around fun match. And I will say, if I'm going to be really picky with this, I will say I expected a little bit more from this match. But it feels like they kind of shortened some of the matches that went on before the main event so they can give Cena and Gunther all the time in the world. Because I feel like if these guys were given 10 more minutes, they would have cooked even more than they did. But this was a lot of fun. AJ Styles and Dragon Lee retain the World Tag Team titles. And, Javon and Leon will go on to do their own thing. I think Javon Evans is set to be on the main roster really soon. Maybe he does something with Ricky Saints, like I mentioned before. A little thing with Ricky. Maybe he gets one more shot at the NXT title and fails, and then he gets called up to the main roster because they seem to really like Javon, as they should. And yeah, he's going to be a star. He's going to be an absolute star. That's something I forgot to mention with Obafemi as well. As soon as he came out, like before he came out, actually, they were ready for him. They were doing the "who" chant and everything, and then chanting Oba. Obafemi's going to be an absolute star when he goes up to the main roster officially. He's set up to be the next big thing, and he is the pure definition of that. Same thing you could say with Javon Evans as well. These guys, if you consistently showcase them, I think that the future is in good hands. It's in good hands regardless, but I think these are guys that you need to start showcasing more often. And I'd like for WWE to have an annual thing where they have at least once a year the NXT guys going up against the main roster guys. I think that's something that would be really interesting to have, and have that as an annual thing. But yeah, so that was the World Tag Team title match. We then went on to the main event of the evening, which was Gunther versus John Cena, and John Cena's final match ever. The video packages leading up to this, it hit me in the feels a little bit. I won't lie, because man, this entire night was, obviously dedicated to John Cena, and as we got closer to the end, it was just like, man, it's really hitting right now. So yeah, I think that this event was really, it was meant to be emotional. It was meant to be emotional. I did not shed any tears. I did not, but it did hit me a little bit where I'm like, man, this is hitting me. I'm getting goosebumps. But John Cena makes his way out to the ring after Gunther. Gunther gets, a whole bunch of boos, a very loud boos. He gets asshole chants. He gets, FU chants and whatnot. So yeah, he's completely booed out of the building, and obviously Cena is not, because that's who this event is about. Going on about the match, solid match, really solid match. Some really good near falls here where Gunther kicked out. I believe it was out of 4 AAs. There was one in the ring, there was one through the announce table, there was an avalanche AA, and then there was one towards the end that Gunther kicked out of all of them. The match ended with Gunther having John Cena in the sleeper hold. Now, I've been saying that Cena is going to pass out. That was not the case. John Cena tapped out to Gunther's sleeper hold, and he did it with a smile on his face. Now, Anthony, who I've had on this podcast before, messaged me, and he told me how much he didn't like Cena smiling during the sleeper hold, which I kind of understand, because you're kind of supposed to be selling that. But yeah, I understand why Cena did it, but at the same time, it's like, you shouldn't be smiling when you're in a submission hold like that. I think that kind of just takes away from it, and it kind of makes you look a little bit more dumb. But yeah, I can kind of agree with Anthony in saying that, maybe the smile was a bit too much, but it was also, it like I said, it was meant to be emotional. It was meant for John Cena just to be like, man, it's time I just tap out. I thought he was just gonna pass out. I thought that would have made more sense. And I thought he was going to, but obviously that is not the route that they wanted to take. After the match, the WWE locker room comes out. Triple H comes out to a course of boos. crowd chanting "You effed up" to Triple H, just booing him out of the building anytime he stepped up onto the apron or anything. Yeah, the crowd hated this, man. They hated this, which is why I think it would have been a better option for Cena to pass out because um, I know the crowd at heart wanted John Cena to win, but realistically, I don't think many people thought he was going to. Because obviously Gunther was my pick going into this match because I felt that made the most sense. And Gunther's going to go on the streak of just being the new legend killer. So now he gets to say he retired Goldberg and he retired John Cena. Maybe there's more names to cross off the list. So yeah, Gunther beats John Cena by submission. John Cena taps out for the first time since 2003, which is absolutely insane. Just a year after he debuted and on his final match ever, just over 20 years later, uh, he taps out. So that is a wrap on John Cena's career. They play a video package for him at the end that is, the most emotional video package of the night that they played. So many, photos and videos in there. You had The Undertaker talking in there, and you had some other guys in there as well. I am incredibly happy for John Cena. While, I still, like I mentioned on the predictions, I still come on here and share my analysis. I don't agree with Cena smiling while him tapping out, but at the end of the day, it has been a phenomenal career for John Cena and this 20 plus year career. And I said on the predictions, thank you, John Cena. I've been saying it all day, because really and truly, this guy for 20 plus years just always showed up. He worked from the very bottom. If you've seen some of the interviews that he's done where he talks about his life before the WWE, you develop a new foundation of respect for this man, just where he's come from and where he ended up and how successful he's become. So uh, the only thing you can say is thank you to John Cena because he put his body on the line every single week strictly for our entertainment. So thank you, John Cena. But that is Saturday night's main event 42, John Cena's final match. That is a wrap on John Cena's career. It's crazy, man. It's crazy that I am never going to I'm never going to cover a John Cena match again, which is insane. And I know I just started the Kayfabe Central this year, but man, it's crazy. That's insane. But as always, I want to know what you guys have to say and what your thoughts are. You guys are just as big a part of the show as I am. So make sure you leave your thoughts down in the comments. If there's anybody joining in the live chat last minute, now is the chance to leave your chats in there. And, get in your chats right now while you can. Because we are in the home stretch of this live. So if you're joining in the live at the last minute, then make sure you leave your thoughts in the chat. And if you're watching this after the fact, make sure you drop your thoughts down in the comments and let me know what you thought of Saturday night's main event and what you thought of John Cena's final match ever. Did you enjoy it? Did you hate it? Do you think it could have been booked better? Let me know all those thoughts down in the comments. And as I mentioned before, make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel and hit the notification bell so you're up to date with all the videos, podcasts, and interviews that do come to the channel. I am going to be back with the Kayfabe recap tomorrow, as always, as every Sunday. So make sure you guys keep a lookout for that. As I mentioned, if you have notifications on, you will be notified when that goes up. So make sure you guys keep a lookout for that. Keep notifications on, all that good stuff. But yeah, I'm going to call it a night. I'm going to wrap up this post show. Thank you, everybody who popped into the live for a few minutes. And thank you for everybody in advance for watching this after the fact. So yeah, I'm going to call it a night. That has been Saturday night's main event 42. Once again, let me know your thoughts down in the comments. I will be back tomorrow with the Kayfabe recap. And until then, take it easy.